You know, there's a saying, right? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. And actually, that's something we've felt lately is cash flow squeezes, where we've won 4 clients. We start, do the clean, put money, set up, whatever, hiring, everything. But we don't get paid for, say, a month or 2 after that. But we've still got to make that payroll. And then what do you do? What do you do? Welcome to another episode of Cleaning Chronicles. What's happening this week? So I'm hosting a mastermind. Date is to be confirmed. This will be probably at the end of 2025. This is for business owners. It's for people who maybe don't have businesses, but it's for anyone who wants to level up, whether about buying businesses, scaling businesses, marketing and branding, your financials. Do you do a weekly or monthly P&L? Do you know what your gross profit is? Do you know what your net profit is? Do you know what your national insurance is costing every month? I can tell you something. It's too fucking much. Thanks, government. So if you're interested in that, send me a DM on Instagram. Just say mastermind and I'll send you details for that. That's going to be awesome. It's going to be 10 people maximum. It'll be probably in London. Now, what's happening in the clean business? The last 2 weeks have been so busy. We've had 5 different sites require new cleaners, either because they've been dismissed for quality reasons, they've just disappeared, standard, or they don't want to work weekends anymore. And so, we've kind of agreed, okay, give us a month, give us this time, and we'll sort out a replacement. It always seems to happen at the same time in this industry. Recruitment is the biggest challenge, the biggest risk, the biggest time drain, but you can't have a cleaning business without staff. There are definitely some other businesses you can have without staff, but this is one that if you don't have them, you are not making money. It's as simple as that. And so some people without recruitment experience, HR experience might look at that and say, that's a bit too risky for me. I'm not, that's not really a business I want to look at. And I understand it. Every business has its pros and cons. And I can tell you, we have thousands of CVs that have been rejected over the past 2.5 years, probably more. I've had hundreds, maybe I'm close to 8,000 interviews with staff, and we have 65 staff at the 67 staff at the moment. So you can see the numbers are massive at the top of the funnel, but they then drop so much, and that's just the nature of it. That is this industry. That is a lot of industries. However, if you had a different business, like a software business or a business where people were full-time, they were earning 20, 30, 40k a year, they're in an office, your turnover rate and your retention should be very, very different. I think we have a decent sort of level of staff turnover. It's fairly low, but also I'm not too fussed about that number, because if someone is bad, then you're gone. Obviously you have chances, obviously you have feedback, you have audits, you have what can we do to make your life easier, is there equipment, is there chemicals you need, but generally speaking, hire slowly and fire fast. So it's been pretty crazy doing all the hiring for that. Luckily my ops manager has done most of it. I've jumped in, I've shortlisted people, I've had a few interviews, I've vetted people, I've done kind of final stage checks, but we've hired for pretty much all of the roles. But there's kind of little minutiae which you don't realize. For example, a client said today, this cleaner, they finished at 12. I thought we agreed that they finished by 8 a.m. Whoa. So, okay, let me investigate. Let me see what we can do about this. Spoke to ops manager, spoke to the new cleaner, looked back at my records from the 2P, the transfer of the other cleaners, looked at their checkouts on our geofenced app and saw that actually they've been clocking out at 9 to 10 a.m. every day. And their impression was it has to be done by 10. So, a client can't really change the time of cleaning like that and expect it to happen the next day. And he's been understanding. We said, look, it's not going to be instant. Can we agree 9 a.m? And that will allow us to at least make this process a bit faster, because we have a really good cleaner in place who just joined us, I think maybe a week and a half ago, but she doesn't have transport. So we were like, okay, well, we have a leftover company car, trying to buy it. No, okay, well, now we're looking at do we do an electric bike hire, because that's what she suggested and that's what could work. But we kind of have to do that ASAP, and we have to find suppliers, negotiate prices, whether it's insurance, whether we're owning it, whether we're leasing it. Now, this doesn't happen with most roles, but we've identified this person as a potential future supervisor, and someone who, and you can tell by the way people in this industry communicate, you can tell who is going to be a supervisor. You can tell who is good. And so I said to my office manager, you said you really like her, she's good. We need to buy her an electric bike good? He said, yes, 100%. Okay, I'm not going to buy an electric bike. We're going to trial it for the first month on a lease, on a hire, whatever, and then go from there. But sometimes you don't think about these little details that come with a role. And sometimes your time can be spent going client, cleaner, okay, what's the decision? Communication, client. And sometimes you just spend time in it's kind of admin, although I suppose realistically it's operations. And a lot of successful business people, James Sinclair, for example, incredible podcast, so big up him and big up official James, but he always says you as the business owner should be bringing in money to the business. You should be doing sales, you should be doing new business generation. And I do agree with him to some extent. However, I actually prefer doing ops, doing client communication, doing audits, doing things that maybe you would say are in the business. I also enjoy working on the business, but I quite enjoy actually doing that role as opposed to sales. I've done sales, I've done that for a long time, but I prefer that. So am I going to force myself to do new business, or am I going to pay someone very good? And we have someone very good who keeps winning clients. For example, today we did a deep clean, 40% net margin on that. He won that by a kind of method of sales, which is really underutilized and not spoken about that much. But I'm going to go through it step by step, the whole blueprint at my mastermind. So make sure you DM me mastermind if you're interested. It is a paid event, obviously, guys, because my middle name's not Oxfam. So yeah, big old Oxfam. And so I do bids and tenders. So I kind of do the more boring paperworky type bringing in money. And also I help with the quotes, in terms of like how to price them. Well, the team are quite good at that. And so for me, my role is more in ensuring the clients we have give us more money. We stay lean, we stay efficient, and we operate effectively. That's just my strength, as opposed to sales. So whilst I agree with James Sinclair or I agree with Jimbo, for me personally, I'm in business to do what I enjoy, not what I should necessarily be doing. And so for me, I kind of prefer to work on that more. However, my ops manager, one day, hopefully, he will be my managing director. Train him up, get him to that position. I think he can handle it. I'm very young, very ambitious, very focused, hands-on when he needs to be, hands-off when he also needs to be. Some people are just built for the hustle. Some people are really, really built for it, and he is. So I'm grateful in that sense. We had that deep clean today. We hopefully, once this business is up and running, they said, look, let's see how business goes. Let's see how much income we're making, but we'd love to have you back to do the regular cleaning. Cool, great. So we spent, I think, 12 labor hours today on the deep clean, on the builder's clean. So that's quite hefty. I quoted it at 8 in terms of our profit, but it's fine because there's always a good margin in like one-off cleans, builder's cleans, things like that. And I really do like them. They might be small. I can't remember what we charge, 600 quid, profits 300-ish, maybe just a bit less. But when you look at the commercial side, that could take us a whole month of cleaning a place to make that same net profit. So one-off jobs can be so profitable. I've got a mentee who paid me to teach him how to set up a cleaning business, and he's doing really well. He's in the sticks, he's investing money, he's making money, but there's not profit. But that's so normal in the first 3 months. But he's doing way better than most people would. And he does a lot of one-off cleans, and I said to him, this is so profitable. Like, if you can capitalize on that and keep doing one-off cleans so they don't become one-off cleans. There's so many niches in every industry. Like, there's niches and then there's niches within the niche. Last month we invoiced, I think it was just over 80k, not 85. So we're still at $1 million, at the end of, the 12 months, but it varies month by month because we clean a caravan site and that can go up to say 5k a month, or it could be 2k a month. Over the next winter seasons, that will be quieter. We lost we didn't lose a client, we lost a site. Unfortunately, they had to pay the redundancy out for the staff, which was a lot of money because they were closing a site. And they paid that, they had to pay us a termination fee, which I reduced massively because we're keeping their other sites and we're getting their other sites, hopefully. Everyone's doing a fantastic job there. That's kind of ticking along quite nicely, actually. That's a 3 or 4 grand a month of revenue. When I talk about revenue, by the way, the profit's anywhere from 22 to 35%, depending on the project. These commercial ones that I mentioned. There's a saying, right? Turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king. Because turnover looks good, and there's plenty of businesses with turnover, but they fail, they go wrong. Profit is really what matters, but revenue is a nice way to track things, because if I know that I'm profitable and that we will be profitable and I've priced that in, then the revenue is kind of a nice way to count it, because the profit does change month to month. The profit then changes if I hire someone or if I've given the sales guy more hours this week, but that doesn't factor in we've just won a client that hasn't paid us yet, because it's going to be another month or two till they pay us. And actually that's something we've felt lately is cash flow squeezes, where we've won 4 clients. We start, do the clean, put money, set up, whatever, hiring, everything. But we don't get paid for, say, a month or 2 after that. But we've still got to make that payroll, and then what do you do? Like, what do? You use your profits to pay for it, sure. You use your own cash to pay for it if you can. You can do invoice factoring and things like that, but when I have a cash reserve, paying them 2-3%, whatever, is not worth it when I can kind of borrow from myself for free or pay myself an interest rate. So I can factor my own invoices, which I'm in a fortunate position to do. You can't do if you're starting out. But that squeeze has definitely caught me by surprise, because you kind of just expect it to be covered and happen. That doesn't happen, especially when I've still got an investor to pay off who funded the second purchase, and I'm still paying off the second seller. That should be paid off in the next few months, but those still come out of profit. And if they weren't there, then of course there wouldn't necessarily be this squeeze. But this is what happens with M&A when you're buying businesses, and it's, as much as it's magic, because it is, you have to be aware that by doing deferred payments and seller financing, some of it's going to come out of what would have been yours. And on the point of it being magic, I spoke to a seller today. Turnover was about 180k and it's been stable for years and years. Why are you selling? I'm 65, want to retire. Well, cool. And then I was like, okay. And I thought, okay, you must have had this business for like maybe 2 or 3 years. I don't know, maybe you started it late. I kind of couldn't compute. I said, how long you had the business for? When did you start? He said 25 years ago. I said Barry, short for Bareth. I said 25 years. I didn't say this, I was thinking it's 25 years and you're hitting 180k turnover. There's 2 ways of looking at this. Fair enough. Are you making the profit you want to make? Yes. It's taking like 6k a year salary, so I don't understand. But anyways, you're making the profit we want to make. Are you happy? Yeah, cool. End of discussion. Have you tried to grow it over those years? Did you have massive ambitions at one point? Was it much bigger at one point? The reason I think this is because the first cleaning business I bought was turning over 250 grand and I bought it for 50 grand. Like that, in a month is how long it took to do the legals and process it. So in a month, I had 250k of turnover with none of my own money. Right. And I paid the seller off in a year and I paid the investor off in 1.5 years, I think it was. So after that point, it was just pure profit for me. And I look at the people I speak to and think, which one is it? You don't necessarily want to ask. I mean, you can ask in a sort of different way, in a polite way. But I just look at it and think, there's so much you can do with buying a business. Because I just bought more than what you've achieved in 25 years per year in a month. And it's like doing a buy, refurbish, refinance, which I have a book on Amazon about, by the way. Don't realize how amazing this concept is, this the way it works, until you do it and you say, so the money's come out of the deal, I've got nothing in it, and I've got an asset and it's generating rent and it goes up in value every year. It honestly is mind-blowing. And look, again, on the mastermind, I'm going to be covering M&A. I'm going to be saying to everyone, beforehand, you're going to have a hefty bit of data I need from you, because when you come there, I'm going to then say to you, look, this is how you can grow your business. Have you thought about acquiring this business in this sector, doing that, doing this? You're not just going to turn up and be like, oh, who are you? What do you do? No, you're going to come up and I'm going to be ready for you. We're going to have solutions to all your problems. Because I've been there, I've done that. How have I gone from 0 to 1 million turnover in under 2.5 years? I haven't put my own money into either. I put my time into it, blood, sweat and tears. But look, we're going to cover that on the mastermind. And recently we've had some new clients onboarding. So in the last 2 weeks, probably spent $1,000, maybe a bit more on equipment and job ads and sort of onboarding costs, which aren't too much, to be fair. But this is good because it means we're onboarding new clients and we've got a fairly healthy pipeline. I said to my sales guy, look, how do we get you into more 3, 4, 5 grand a month sites, which we've quoted before and we've got to kind of some final stages with. And so we're working on getting him into that. But there is profit in picking up the type of contracts that other people don't want. And that's kind of what we've been doing. So that's my 2 pence, my tuppence on the last week or so in the cleaning business. I think I'd love to end the year invoicing a solid 90k per month. That would be good. So maybe something like 88k per month, including caravans, and then, excluding caravans, and then anything on top of that is from the caravans. So we're taking on another caravan site next year. We're visiting it next week, but we're taking it on next year. And so that would be ideal. And if I look at my road to 1 million that I've generated here, and I looked at this in July, I think, and it said in July you want to target 66k turnover, August 69, September 73, October 76, November 80, December 83.33. We're sort of at the December target now in terms of being at a mil annually, and that's sort of a 5% growth a month, which is pretty good, because if you do 5% times 12, that's 60% a year. I didn't think about that, but yeah. However, I think we do a big push before the end of the year. We potentially can get there. I'm also applying for a lot of bids. We won't have any sort of come back to us, I don't think, this year, but if we can at least continue a big pipeline of that would be awesome. And then I think realistically, once we get to 100k a month, like clear, I'm going to reevaluate what we're doing, reevaluate the structure, the management, my role in it, how to make things easier, operations. It's going to have like a whole thing then, because I think I might stabilize out at 1.2 and say, look guys, let's just grow a bit more casually. Let's look at a niche. Let's buy some vans, do some pressure washing, do some biohazard cleaning. I don't know, but we'll work something out when we get there. But yeah, I'm pretty confident we can get to 100k a month easily by June next year. But let's say by March next year. Remember I said that. Catch you next week.